Hi, everyone. This is Mack Jackson from Technology Review. Welcome to another episode. I want to welcome back as my guest, Sonia Petkewich. How you doing, Sonia?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Mac. Good to see you.
You too. Good to see you too. Hey, and this week we want to talk about the whole quarantine and everybody staying at home and trying to find activities to do. Some people are working from home. Other people have lost their jobs. But there's also a group of people that we talked about that are looking to possibly improve their skills while they are at home. And since you do IT recruiting, I wanted to talk to you about what are some of the suggestions you'd have for people that are at home and maybe want to improve their skills.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, it's a super bummer to see so many people out of work and or talking to them daily. And, you know, the weight of that all can be stressful at times, but there's definitely, some people have a really good attitude about capitalizing on this time to bolster up their skill set, to improve in different areas. And it really just got me thinking, because at Taurean, we do have a suite of online training courses that we partner with a company with, and I do resell those out there in the market. I tend to sell them and then use the funds to create scholarships and training for other folks, typically girls in tech that are coming up, or students like through the IT Works program. But right now, I just feel like it's important to make those available to people who have been like talking about, like, we're all getting ready to get ready all the time to take a new course or learn a new skill set. And we're all so busy that we don't take the time to do it. And unfortunately now, we have a lot of time on our hands. So we're offering our courses for 95% off, which is such a deal. A course that's normally $696 you can get for less than $40 to take while you're at home. Go through the course at your own pace. It's online learning, and anything from CompTIA to security to project management, Agile, Scrum, all of those courses that when you are ready to go back into the workforce, which of course everyone's ready now, but when the market goes open and you sit with a hiring manager and they ask what you did during this time, it's pretty awesome to be able to say, this was my job experience, but during the furlough or during the layoff, I was able to add a few things to my arsenal of skills and tools. Like, why not take that time to do it now? At least that's kind of my thought in it. So yeah, if you go to taureanconsulting.net, go to the Learn With Us button, go to the shop, check out all of the courses, and use the code Learn With Us, all in capitals, all one word, all squished together. You can take advantage of that 95% off.
Yeah, that's unheard of, 95% off. I don't think you can get a deal like that on Amazon.
Yeah, I think it's, a lot of companies that I network with are pivoting and offering their services at a real deep discount right now to help people, or, in some cases for free, depending on what their services are. And I have found that usually people take the classes when they have some skin in the game. I've offered them for free before, and people don't tend to actually go through the modules. So I think at 95% off, it's a really great deal. There's actually a bundle. I don't know if I told you about this, but there's a way for just under $100 to sign up for a year, and you can take as many classes as you want during that year. So you can take 10 classes, you can take 4, but that's certainly the best buy. But I think it's important just to, you occupy your mind during this time. I know I'm a high extrovert, and so I find like sheltering in place can kind of wear on your emotions, and it can kind of wear on your mind, and you need something different to occupy it. So it's nice to have a course or interaction to do to break up the monotony of the day at home. So I think it's definitely worth it. I've had some contractors actually buy some classes for their kids, like in high school, because, it's such a great price that, when school's out over the summer, they want them to learn basic coding or basic networking. Anyone can take the classes. I think it's really a great offer.
Oh, very good.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. So after they take these courses, what would be your next recommendation? Should they add that to their resume as well? Would they have that skill set?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of times people, I think the trick with resumes is to always be updating it, whether you're looking for a job or not, right? And so now I think there's a tack to it where you're available, everyone's available. How do you position your resume for the right jobs as they start to become available? So I think it's good to kind of sit down and not only add these courses as you take them, and if you ultimately go and sit for the certification, you should do that as well. Add the cert, of course, to your resume, but start to think about like some of the accomplishments that you had in the last 90 days, year since you last updated your resume. I
Mm-hmm.
just talked to a candidate who worked for his company for 12 years, and he said in 12 years he hadn't updated his resume. And I really think that that needs to be something that you put on your calendar, and every 90 days you just kind of sit back and congratulate yourself on some of the accomplishments and tasks and projects that you've executed on to help just keep that resume updating.
Absolutely. Hey, I did get an email a couple days ago. Someone wanted me to ask you about the whole resume engine, or like when you apply for a job on these online sites, and they want you to upload your resume. And
Yeah.
yeah, the recipient was asking, when you put your resume out there on these search engines, do they go through a scanning process where they look for certain information on your resume, and in other words, is there a technology app that deletes it and only sends the recruiters the stuff that they want, keywords they're looking for, and everybody else is bypassed?
I wish, because there's times where we go through where we get like all these resumes and we're trying to figure out like why, because they're so far off. But there are, tools that sit out there and grab like, hey, these people updated their LinkedIn profile, or these people updated Dice, whatever, and it is looking for keywords. And so recently, one of our roles requires some data warehouse experience. And so
Mm-hmm.
if people had warehouse on their resume, even if it was just a fulfillment center warehouse, we were getting an influx of resumes. So
Right.
I think some of those you know artificial intelligence tools that sit on, whether it's LinkedIn or Dice or Ladders or Indeed, they are looking for those keywords. And so we tend to get a lot of interesting applications because they pick up on certain specific things, right?
That's interesting.
Technician,
Right.
might not just be a desktop technician, it might be an automotive technician. So, I think, of course, the best way to look for a job is through a recruiter, right? Because a recruiter is going to say, here's some of the key things that a client is looking for to stand out on your resume. If for sure you've done it and you could speak to it in an interview, you should put it on your resume because it's going to make it stand out. Or, for instance, I have a client who really, for leadership roles, isn't looking for someone who's saved this or achieved this, like all those fluffy things, although important in an organization for a leadership role. This particular hiring manager thinks it's just, that's just part of your job. He's looking for the technical pieces and how you've shifted technology, not that you've saved money, because that should just be part of the role anyway, right? And so when you work with a recruiter that knows the hiring manager really well, they can help you shape your resume so it stands out. A recruiter should never have you falsify anything or present yourself with more skills in any area than you really have, because you're just gonna bomb an interview, right? But a
Right.
recruiter should be able to coach you and help you highlight the skills that are most important for any particular job, right? And I think what's going to happen now, which is somewhat scary, as this morning I spent a lot of time talking to candidates on the phone, is one guy was like, I keep getting these rejection emails back on my resume. I must have applied to 100 jobs this morning, and I was like, well, you're probably saying you're sending the same resume for every job, and I don't know that that's going to get you anywhere. You're just going into a pool of resumes, and an HR recruiter who might not know technology very well is just going to say yes, yes, no, 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 and you might just get filtered into the no pile. So, of course, I'm partial to recruiters. This is what I've done for over 20 years, but there is the aspect of somebody advocating for you and coaching you and partnering with you to help you get the right job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
So the
lots of little
recruiter,
tricks.
so the recruiter is better than having a AI bot trying to find jobs for you, right? Have an
I think
advocate.
so. I think a bot can bring you jobs, but if you're just sending the same job description or same resume out for everyone that the bot brings you, what if there's a spelling error in it? You know what I mean? Or like sometimes candidates will write their job descriptions like from 10 years ago, they'll be in the present tense. and then their
Sure.
most current job is in the past tense, and
Right.
little things like that show the kind of communicator you are, like in the written form, and recruiters should be able to help you navigate that. Make sure you don't have spelling mistakes. Make sure you're not misspelling technology. Make sure just because your environment had this technology, you may not have touched it. So, if you can't speak to it in a technical interview, maybe it shouldn't be on your resume.
Yeah, that makes sense too. That makes sense too.
Yeah.
Well, great. Hey, give your website out again.
Sure. So Taurean Consulting, it's Taurean, like the zodiac sign, taurianconsulting.net. And especially for the training, just go to the Learn With Us tab and you'll see all the information on the discounts and courses available. And of course, you can contact me through the website and I'll help you out with whatever you need.
That's cool. Cool. Hey, I also wanted to let you know that our podcast TV show here also just got picked up by 5, have the notes here, 5 podcast companies that, including Anchor, there's one called Beaker, Google Podcast, Radio Public, Spotify, and Apple iTunes.
Oh my God, I can tell my kids they can hear us on Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify as well.
That's really exciting, Mac. I'm
Yeah,
really happy for you.
Yeah, they can see us on YouTube, still be able to see us there, but the actual podcast version of our show will be available on these other sites.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Great.
that's going really, really well. So yeah, so folks, if you'd like to help us out, subscribe to our show. Really appreciate it as well. Just go to our site here and click on and be a subscriber supporter. We appreciate it. It can be as low as $1 a month. $1 a month, folks, and you can support our show. Sounds great. So the next subject I want to ask you about, we're talking about technology. Now that everybody's, we're all at home working and under the quarantine, there's talk about coming out of this quarantine, and when everybody be able to go back to work, how can we monitor and make sure people are safe from this particular type of virus, right? So there's all kinds of technology out there to do that, to monitor people, monitor their fevers and stuff, and their blood pressure and all kinds of things, right? So what do you think about that technology? Yeah. There's a company that has an app that has a mobile thermostat that people would take, and it would take their temperature on a random basis. So they don't have to do it, and it's Bluetooth, and it works with their phone, and it sends the information to their doctor, and also a central iCloud type of database server. Pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah.
How is this going to affect HIPAA laws?
I think it's interesting. I mean, I always try to think of like, what are we not thinking about, right? And I was talking to you before about how I went to just a regular doctor's appointment, and I waited in the lobby. There was a coffee cart, so I had coffee, and it was, it was extended wait for this doctor's appointment. So by the time I got in for the triage, right, the part where they get your weight and check your blood pressure, of course, my body temperature was high and my blood pressure was high because I just drank an espresso. And so I had to wait another 20 minutes for my blood pressure to come down because they were worried, and which I have normal blood pressure at all other times. So I'm just trying to think about like how this could go wrong, right? Also, I think as a woman, although I'm not menopausal, I'm in my 40s, and that's not far off. But if you're a menopausal woman who has like, hot flashes and those type of things, are you not going to be allowed into a restaurant because your temperature spikes for a minute, you're having a visible hot flash? And I also think that people are really showing like how much they're uncomfortable with government oversight and how quickly people just conceded and sheltered in place. And in certain parts of the country, they're like, you can't tell me I can't go to a park, you can't tell me this. Are people going to really be willing to make that available just on a whim? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to test our democracy. If you look over in China, they test people and how they are, quarantining people forcefully if their, temperatures are high. They may not even have viruses. You're right. It could be other things that are causing it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to be done here, and hopefully we'll You know, the best thing we need to do is come up with a cure, or I guess the first step is a treatment and then a cure for this. And that would
Yeah.
suffice.
But even
But
then, like, are people going to run to get the vaccination as quickly?
they would
Because
they would run. People would run to get the vaccination. But they have to make sure.
there's a huge portion of the population that is not in favor of vaccines, and they don't want to be mandated to do that. The East West Coast, they're certainly going to push back on some of that, right? They already do
Right.
with just general vaccination. So just coming into your health rights, access to my health information, I could see the debate being very
Yeah.
heated as to what is good, what is bad. I mean, I want to be able to travel, I want to be able to do things, and I'm not as worried about providing some of that information, but then how far is too far?
Right. How far is too far? So true. So true.
Because
Yeah.
did you see that data set that came out? I think it was like, I feel like it was last Thursday or Friday. It's all a blur, right? But there was like an article that had come out, and they had rated states on their stay-at-homeness, like which states were sheltering in place the best, and it was based on cell phone data. Did you see that?
Oh, interesting. No, I haven't. Tell me about
Oh,
that.
I'll find it. So there was like an article that came out and said like New York, we were in the Nevada was in the top four, and it was
Interesting.
basically because they were able to look at cell phone pings, and there was not as many taking place. Right, phones were staying put; they weren't pinging all over the city, or even in close vicinity because people aren't moving, people aren't traveling, people are staying home where they should be, and it was ranking. The states for following that. So like New York got an A plus, Nevada got an A, and then down the line to some of those cities that we're still doing spring break, we're still doing Sunday service, and you could tell that their population was still moving based on their cell phones. Right, there is already a level of
Wow.
data being collected, right?
Incredible. That is really incredible. They're actually, so our cell phones are being basically monitored in a sense, right? Of where you're at.
Yeah,
Because everybody that's doing anything in society has one to communicate.
yeah,
And you're right. If you can monitor the pings and where they're at, you know exactly how people are moving.
yeah. We were talking in the neighborhood, some of the parents at a social distance, by the way, and
Hmm.
someone had brought that article up, and they were talking about their kids, and you and I have had this conversation before. I have a 14, a 12, and an almost 10-year-old this week, if you can believe that. But
Incredible,
they don't have cell phones, right?
right?
I don't, I'm not, I'm a mean mom. I don't feel like they need to have technology at their fingertips. And one of them was talking about how, like a week ago, they had to take theirs away because the daughter was on an app, and all of a sudden, she was like, "Oh, this person's asking me all these weird questions," and someone through a chat room in TikTok of all places was
Yes.
trying to find out where this person lived, where they went to school, and
Yep.
it came across like it was maybe another young person, but who knows? And I was like, this is why I don't give my kids access, because I don't they're just too young and not mature enough to know who's really on the other side. And
Yes.
then as we move forward through coming out of COVID and all of these things, that tracking is now available with your kids, right? If they have devices. So
Hmm.
it doesn't just stop with me, it goes to the people I care about.
True. And that was the other one on my list was TikTok. It's also one to very much, yeah, stay away from, and it's bad. it's,
Yeah.
it's definitely
Well,
bad.
someone had posted something about how is it owned by a Chinese company?
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's like all that, like if whether it's conspiracy or how you feel about it, your data is going overseas
Hmm.
somewhere.
Right.
But it's really, as a parent, it's more about the controls and the access. And so
Hmm.
there's been two really great articles where one lady posed as an 11-year-old. Did you see that one?
Yes.
And she created a profile, and she's like, I might as well go on as if I am my child at 11. And she spent 2 weeks in sharing some of the things that she came across and how quickly people, could connect with her in the different chat rooms and all the bullying that goes on. Like, is an 11-year-old mature enough? Every parent has to make that decision for themselves. But I would venture to say that maturity of how to self-manage on technology is not
True.
there when you're in your young teenage years.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's good you brought up about TikTok. I was going to mention that too in our conversation today. I have a link that I shared on my LinkedIn page regarding a warning about TikTok. So if you guys want to take a look at it, it's on my LinkedIn page as a post. Yeah, cyber investigators and researchers are looking into TikTok because it has some very interesting and kind of alarming types of applications have been used for it. Definitely, for sure.
You know what else is like back on the rise? I'm totally probably going off of our agenda topic, but you know what else is like resurfacing like crazy
What's that?
is these online games and surveys. Like the
Online?
little like, on Facebook, the little surveys that say like,
Oh,
who are you likely to be in 20 years, or who are you going to
yes.
marry? Like all those,
I've
I don't know what
noticed
the
that.
proper word is.
Yeah, those are the
Yeah, like
games.
just like in the last election year, it seemed like there were so many of those, and here
Hmm.
people are tapping right into it. And I know they're bored, but you're kind of giving permission for all of your information just to answer and show a picture of what you would look like if you had blue hair instead of brown hair, whatever it
True.
is that they're doing.
True,
But why are
exactly.
people still clicking on those?
You're right. We talked about that. You and I talked about that a couple years ago on this show. People are going on these sites and participating in these third-party applications, folks. These are companies that you're
That's
giving
like
over your information from Facebook through these third-party companies. And Facebook is saying that they're not responsible for it because the person decided to go use a third-party application. But you're right. They shouldn't be participating in those type of games.
yeah.
Yeah. People do get bored.
And you think as a kid who you give access to social media on, like they're
Sure.
going to play those, like
Yeah,
who's not going to do them at that age? So
absolutely.
I think it's a very slippery slope, you
Yes, it
know.
is. Definitely can be. Definitely can be. Well, that's cool, Sonia. That's really cool. Hey, this was a good episode with you and everything, and let's do this again. And folks,
Yes.
go to find information about Sonia. Definitely go to her website. She's a great recruiter. You're going to learn more about IT recruiting here in Las Vegas, as well as the country. You can find lots of information. Oh, and you know something, Sonia? Let's go ahead and mention the other organization that you work with. Is it NABO? Is it?
Oh, yeah. So I sit on the board of NABO, the National Association of Women Business Owners.
Yeah.
So that's been great. I love to connect with other women and lift up with them. So yeah,
Yeah.
they have some great content for members and not members if you're looking to participate in some great webinars. There's one actually this Wednesday on securing IT from home. So
Very
yeah,
good.
so
Yeah, I wanted to mention.
connect with me on.
Yeah, I
Go
wanted to
ahead.
mention them
Sorry.
out because they're a good organization and stuff. And I got a chance to speak to the group a
Yeah.
couple of years ago and stuff. And I wanted to give them a shout out as well. They're a good group and everything. So thank you again,
Yeah, they're
Sonia.
looking for speakers now on national, Mac. So I'll
Oh,
send
they
you a
are.
little speaker form. Yeah.
Nice, nice. That sounds good. We'll definitely talk about that as well. All right. Well, stay tuned. Hold on, Sonia. We'll be right back here. Hey, everyone. I want to thank you again for joining us for this episode. Sonia Petkewich, Taurean Consulting Group, and myself, Mack Jackson from Technology Review TV. We will have another episode next week. Sonia will be my guest as well. We're going to talk about more technology that can help you out during this time being under quarantine, folks.